Mute. I'm mute. I'm sorry. I am always muting myself. So, hi everyone. Hi everyone to the number of sessions of Tanya L. So today, as usual, is our session is Tanya Oil session. As I have always mentioned before, our Tanya Oil session is an open session where you can come in, do your work, join us, hang out with us, and basically, basically just have a session, a chill out session with us. So even if it's not related to open learning, you can ask questions. But for today, we have actually two special guests joining me, and Nikki, and Nikki, while we talk about the educator's perspective during this pandemic. So I guess we have a few people saying hi in the chat. Hi Shaz, hi Kama, and hi Alia. Uh, I guess right now I'm just going to introduce these two people to the stage, studio, to the screen. All right. Okay, let's have these people. All right. So with me today, I have Amira, or as she have her name there, it's Maya. You can either call her Amira or Maya, and another person is Balqis. So maybe we can have Maya introduce herself first.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here. I mean, thank you for inviting. Pretty excited, half nervous, half excited. As you can see, my name is Amira, but I go by the name Mea more often than not. And I am a language instructor. Basically, I'm a language teacher, so I'm just a teacher. But I teach quite a lot of different institutions. I teach students from the age 14 up until the age 60. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, thank you, Maya. Now let's hear a bit about Balqis on the mic.
Hello, hi. Hi, my name is Balqis. Just a short intro. I teach literature, specifically literature to UiTM Dengkil Asasi students. Disclaimer, I haven't been teaching that long actually. I just started teaching about a year ago. A year ago. I started teaching July last year. So I don't have a lot of experience to share per se, but I definitely am. I definitely appreciate being invited here, and I will try my best to share everything that to the best of my knowledge. So thank you for having me here.
All right. Thank you, Balqis. As you guys know or might not know, I'm Atikah. I'm the learning designer at Open Learning at Open Learning Malaysia. I'm always your host on this Tanya OL session, but also with me always is Nikki backstage. So maybe Nikki, you want to share your grace us with your presence, right? So
Hi.
yes.
I'll be backstage as usual. So if you have any questions, I'll be the one clicking on them to put them up on the screen for Atika and the rest to answer. Hope you enjoy the session today.
All right. Thanks, Nikki. All right. So as I mentioned, if you guys know from our promo posters, we are actually going to talk to these two educators on their experiences on during this pandemic session. Pandemic session. Okay, never mind. So, uh,
Session's over.
Yeah, the session. We're this session. This is probably the third session or fourth session already.
I'm sorry. My vocabulary is very limited, and we have two language
Oh,
educators.
no
So thank
judgment.
you
No
for
judgment.
Oh no.
A plus. A plus.
okay. So I guess to start off this today's session, I have questions about that I wanted to ask. And the first thing I wanted to know is mainly as an educator, I know Balkis just mentioned that she just started a year ago. So she basically start her educator journey uh, being online. But for Amira or Maya, sorry, for Maya, she have to transition from a face-to-face class and into an online. So I wanted to know uh, from both of you, what has been the experience for you guys teaching online? How has it been?
May I go?
So I'll go first. All right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've been teaching for about 6, 7 years, and face to face is, it has been always been so easy. It's you can see people, everything is like like tangible. But then you go into virtual, it's a whole new world for everyone, in terms of learning, because when you sign up to go to school, you actually expect to go to school, but then now you sign up to go to school but you're not really going to school. So I think it's challenging not only for us as educators but also for students. And I teach students from like different backgrounds, different countries, different age, and it's a challenge for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're the Gen Y, Gen Z, millennial, boomers, whatever it is. It's a challenge for everyone. And I think that's the difficult thing. It's just like wrapping your head around the fact that this is school. Like this is the new version of school. And if we talk about challenges, I think we've heard so many different versions of challenges. But I think the one thing is just that understanding that school is no longer how how it's supposed to be. And I think that's the biggest challenge so far.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think a lot of people cannot grasp that didn't just transition to online. We basically change our ways, and a lot of people cannot
Exactly.
grasp the idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe Balkis, you want to share your experience on this?
Okay. Well, like I mentioned, I started teaching exactly when the pandemic started. So I can't say I have a lot of experience when it comes to physical classes. But when I started the job, of course, I thought, I'm going to go into a physical class. In itself is quite nerve wracking because I've never actually taught anyone before. So I thought, okay, physical classes is gonna be really, really, making me feel anxious, making me feel nervous. And then suddenly I hear that, oh, it's gonna be an online class. Oh, okay, so that's a different kind of anxious I was gonna have to adapt to. And I think it does have its own challenges in terms of, even though I don't have any educating experiences, but we were all students once, and we all came from classrooms that are the physical classrooms rather than online classrooms. So I think at the very least, that can kind of tell us what physical classes are like. And based on that, I think obviously it's very different. And transitioning to online classes has its own challenges. Like Maya said, regardless of which generation you are, it's definitely going to be difficult for everyone to kind of transition into something that we don't really know of. If you think about it, education, we've always gone into a path where we were supposed to go into online learning. Online learning was supposed to be our destination all along.
Correct.
But because of
Yes.
pandemic, right? Because of pandemic,
We're
it just
forced into it. Yeah.
yes, it got escalated so fast, and everyone was so shocked and pretty much thrown into the scene. Like, okay, now you have to adapt. You had 10 years initially, but now it's today, so you have to deal with it now. So I think
Exactly.
the shock of transition was difficult to deal with for everybody. But I think, considering how we're doing now, we've done pretty well, I would say. I mean, maybe some of us are having tougher times than others, but considering that this is something that we have to do, I feel like we did a pretty good job transitioning, despite all the nerve, despite all the anxiousness, anxieties, and all that. So yeah, I think that's one of it.
Yeah. That's I guess that's a very thought out thought out thinking of it. You have
Oh, I
thought about this
practiced
for a
this.
while.
I
Right?
practiced this beforehand.
Okay. But I agree with you. Because we've been doing this for a year and a half, a lot of people are getting the hang of it. But also, schools are opening up. Schools and institutions are opening up. What do you think about this? Do you think that things will be the same as usual before the pandemic? Are we going to be right face to face? The students will be listening to us and everything. Are you or will is there something that you are going to take away from all of this experience?
Sorry. Is it okay if I go first? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, what I think is, the thing is, change is inevitable. Are we gonna go back to normal? Definitely not. Our new normal is never gonna be like normal like 2 years ago. It feels like 10 years ago, but it's never gonna be the same like 2 years ago. Schools are opening up, yes, but we also have to remind ourselves that this is again a new transition. We transitioned from face to face to online. We got a bit comfortable online, and now we have to transition back to being face to face. And when it comes to changes and when it comes to transitions,
Humans don't like change.
we all don't like that. Exactly. Whether you're young, you're old, whether you're extrovert and introvert, whatever you are, we all don't like changes. And I think we just have to be patient with everything and remind ourselves that this is something that everyone is going through. And that's one thing that I actually learned. Like, the biggest lesson of the pandemic is patience. Like, almost 2 years, like, patience is the key to everything. You just have to be patient. You don't like this, no one likes it, but everyone is thrown into it. So there's no point you being so angry about it, or like, you think this could be that, this could be that. It's all about patience. It's all about transitioning and like, taking one step at a time. And nothing, like, you don't just get a hang of things immediately. And I think that's something that we all have to remember. Being patient with ourselves, being patient with others. Yeah. If there is one thing that I can, that I really get out of this pandemic teaching, it would be, girl, patience. Like, take it slow. There's no rush into this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So your key is patience. I think my key is coffee. Nah, I can't survive without coffee.
Coffee
Okay.
existed before this, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
why.
Okay, jokes aside, my biggest takeaway from the pandemic, if we're talking about whether things will be the same, obviously it's not going to be the same. Like I said, we were heading this way all along. So it's just a matter of that we have to adapt sooner than we thought we had to. So obviously things are going to be different. If anything, this pandemic I think proves that we can go this way. We can go down this way. All these stuff that we've been practicing for online learning, all the kind of like all new apps that you never thought you would use, and then suddenly now it's a common app in your phone. All these things that you never thought you would use, suddenly it's becoming the things that you cannot live without, especially if you're going to do a class. So I think one thing that I thought about is that when you go back to physical class, one thing that I feel like most educators should try to remember is that as much as we are very, very enthusiastic about going back to face learning, is that we still have to remember this was the way to go all along, meaning that we still need to incorporate all these things into our lessons and not forget that okay, physical class, let's forget all these apps now and let's focus on lecture. Obviously, we can't do that. We still have to remember to incorporate these things into our lessons because obviously the world is changing and we have to change with it. Otherwise, we'd be left behind. The pandemic has already made us left behind for so many things already. So we can't let this thing
Wise
out of our
words.
grasp. Yeah, thank you so much. I teach literature for a reason.
You did do a research on all of this, didn't you?
Oh, I thought for one whole night.
Uh, I think this response is kind of similar to what Alia is asking. Let me say this. Alia was asking, do you think you can have a face-to-face learning? You can have face-to-face learning. Would it be the same before and after the pandemic? What do you expect for the face-to-face learning during the endemic?
Oh, I
Well,
expect people wearing a lot of masks and stuff. I hope.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know about you, Balkis, but my institution is not opening up anytime soon.
Oh,
This semester, we're going full on online until next year. So I don't know what to expect. And, and well, we're not teaching school, so we really don't know what to expect either. But in general, face to face learning during the endemic, um, I actually expect students to be more excited or at least like more enthusiastic because the truth is a lot of students they kind of go like during online learning after so long of online learning, so I expect that face to face would bring them some like you better show up,
you better.
like you were giving me so many excuses, so yeah.
I actually have a follow up from a last session where we have our intern Kama. She's a student, currently a student in UKM. So what she have said during the last session was that a lot of students have become very kind of depressed during this session, during the pandemic and everything, with all the work, and they didn't even get to see their friends and everything. So and I guess right now I wanted to ask you, as an educator, have you ever think about this, like students being depressed with all the work and everything, because as a student point of view, I'm just taking from the last session. It might be overwhelming for them. So as an educator, what do you think about students? A lot of students nowadays said they're so depressed with the current situation. So
Why
Mom is go ahead.
anak-anakku? Oh, trust us when we say we are not doing so well either with the transition. But of course, when I say that, that doesn't mean that I am like discrediting your feelings of feeling overwhelmed with the workload and everything. It's definitely a valid reason. I think it's definitely something worth to acknowledge, and I feel like and I'm not sure if what I'm saying comes from like I'm not sure if I'm saying this as an individual outside of my job, or this is something that comes from what I do for a living as well. But I think these things with depression, on one side, I feel like it's quite easy for us to self-claim with depression these days, which I think, as much as we all know the symptoms and whatnot, I feel like we take that term too lightly, because I feel as though, when it comes to dealing with workloads and whatnot, our us teachers, us educators are here to help you. We're not just giving you tasks just for no reason. We're not doing this just to trouble you. We're doing this for you. You know, everything happens for you. It's not happening against you. So I feel like if you, as a student, if you have a problem with adapting to your workloads, this is where you come to us and tell us that, okay, for example, Miss Balqis, I'm dealing with this and I can't arrange my time, for example. And me as an educator, I would go, okay, so tell me what your problem is, and we're going to try and solve this accordingly, and so that we can still meet some deadlines or whatnot. So I feel like, there are, I guess this is me saying that there are ways to deal with it, and not let that lead to you missing out on classes, you missing out on lessons, or you missing out on sending in tasks and whatnot. I think that's what I think.
I think to an extent, I do agree with what Balki has said, but I think what Balkis has also mentioned is that her role in making sure that the students are not depressed, or her role itself in making sure that the students are taken care of. And that's the whole thing. It's not just the students, this is an
Yes.
institutional kind of thing. Like, everyone has to play their part in making sure that everyone is okay. So, but that's the hard part, isn't it? Like, making sure that everyone plays their role correctly.
Yeah,
Like,
you can only go
students
so
should,
far.
yeah, exactly. And as an educator, not everyone is the same. Like, you might feel more empathy towards your students, some might not, which might be the problem. Okay, maybe we should be feeling more empathy. I mean, like, yeah, your students will be lucky to have you. Alhamdulillah. I mean, you're very empathetic with the situations, but then you never know other educators, like how they are, what are they, do they have the same empathy, because we all value different things, we are all in different shoes, we don't really understand as much. But what you said is true. If everyone is playing their roles right, if educators are more empathetic, well, not really just educators, but here's the thing: educators, they get their stress from the higher, from people demanding from them, like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And then, so as educators, we are like the channel, we have to channel that, like, go to the students, and the students, and then when the students are mad, they're mad at us, and then when we tell the authorities, and the authorities will be mad at us. So basically, so
We can't win, can we?
there's no winning. Exactly. But what we can do is just be more empathetic. I feel like if everyone just knows that everyone is going through some hard time, maybe there are things that we can simplify. Definitely, learning online is not the same as face to face. Let's say for face to face, we meet 6 hours a day with the students. We give 3 hours of homework. Let's say, for example, then that's 9 hours of learning face to face. All right. It's where we meet people, we socialize, we go out, we de-stress. But now we're online, we sit in the same place, we see the same people, we're not interacting with people, we lose touch physically, emotionally, mentally with other people. Things have to be cut reduced. So it all goes down to understanding their parts and roles in education. So, yeah, students get stressed, right? What can we do as teachers? We can sort things out carefully. What can the the institution
Management,
do?
higher ups.
The management. What can they do? Everyone has to reevaluate where they're from. Same as students, like you said, the students, if they have problems managing their time, they would have to come to the teachers and say, like, okay, like, this is a lot. Can you do something about it? Um, And like Balkis said, I think we do take the word depressed quite lightly these days. Not saying that we're not, but we've all been in a state where we are depressed or we were depressed. So we have to, if you feel like you're not okay, you're unwell, go get medically checked. Like don't just go and
Yes.
self think like, guys, I'm depressed. Go get medically
Yeah.
checked, get help.
Mm.
Maybe that will help better. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. I just thought.
I used to tell my students like I can help you, but if you don't know what you need help with, then I can't help you. So you got to figure out
Mm,
what's wrong with you, and then tell me tell me, communicate with me about it, and then we will talk. If you feel like depression is something that you might be diagnosed with, then yeah, like Maya said, go get diagnosed properly, and then we can truly discuss where to go next. Because if you're suffering from this, and then no one from the authorities are knowing, and this is just from with you between you and me, then
correct.
we won't go very far. You know, nobody else
Yes.
will understand what kind of struggle that you're going through. So yeah, ask for help if you need it.
Ah, that's a good way to see it. I guess from what you guys are saying, the key here is communicating well with each other. We are
Asking
already
for
very
help.
yeah, we're already very far apart from seeing each other. So the only way people can know what you're struggling with is by you telling them of what you have problems with. Right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that was very heavy.
So heavy.
uh,
This is all Kama's fault. Why did Kama have to talk about being depressed?
I know Kama is joined to this session as well. So
Uh-oh. Is Kama gonna come and find me later? Please don't tell her we're like this.
okay. Okay. So I guess from that, I wanted to know what do you guys do for your classes, for your activities. Like Maya, you're teaching grammar, and Balkis, you're teaching literature. How do you do your activities in classes to help support all this, not to make the students feel too burdened or whatsoever? To make sure everybody, the management is happy, the student is happy. Yeah.
Balkis, would you
Atika!
like to start? You go on
Okay,
with
I'll
your
try. I'll try. Okay, for my class, well, I actually teach another subject aside from literature. I teach reading as well, but I teach literature mostly. So the thing about literature is that how do I say okay, in the curriculum for Asasi programs, literature is actually not one of the core subjects. First class of the day of the semester, what I ask my students is that, do you like literature? Downright, okay, be honest. If you want to say no, you say no. If you want to say yes, you say yes. So you can see like a quite fair division of some people saying yes and some people saying no. And then I downright I told them, okay, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm not here to change your mind about liking literature, because usually when people say literature, Shakespeare is the first name comes to mind. Listeners out there, I believe when you hear literature, you're probably gonna think of Shakespeare. Don't tell me that you don't. It's the most
He's
common.
the
Uh,
only one related to literature.
We're
Actually,
not
he's
dull.
not.
Yeah, apparently he's not. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently he's not. And believe me, I learned this myself a few years ago as well. So anyway, so that's what comes to mind when I say literature, when people hear literature. So I told them, you know what, guys, we're not here. Once again, I'm not here to teach you. I'm not here to make you like literature. But the point of literature has always been about building character. That's what I always say. It's about building character. So literature, if you ask any of my students, they'll tell you that most of my classes outside of learning lessons is always almost usually a therapy session. That's when they tell me, oh, Miss Balkis, I'm stressed, and then we would talk, and then obviously I would try my best to relate it back to the story. I wouldn't, go I don't know where start a therapy session. It's always going to be related to the curriculum. We as educators, we have to always know how to relate back to the curriculum. We can't just
Exactly.
have a session out of nowhere, right? So yeah, what I do is mostly like last time I have this class. I was teaching the story Maria. I don't know if you guys know. The story
I've
Maria
never
is
heard
about
of it.
this. Okay, so the story. Okay, so can I talk about the story?
Go ahead. Feel
Okay.
free to share with people.
As long as it's not
Okay.
Shakespeare, we're
No,
good.
no, it's Maya. The title is Maria. Do you think Shakespeare would be the one to write this?
You never
Okay.
know.
Okay. Well, the story took place in Kelantan. So this happened in the 90s. So in the story, there's this Pak Imam character who wants to marry Maria because this person, Maria, reminds him of his first love. Pak Imam was already married to Cik Yam. So obviously, when you hear about when you hear about second marriages and things like that, it usually is a trigger to some people, and it's always a controversial topic every time I have this particular class with every single new batch. So what I did last time was that I had a debate with them. Well, I didn't have a debate with them; they had a debate with each other. They had a debate in which they have to get into groups of which character they want to represent. Do you want to be on Cik Yam's side or Team Cik Yam, as I call it, or is it Team Pak Imam or is it Team Maria? So they would talk amongst each other and have have discussions about why do you think this character is right or why do you think this character is wrong. Why do you do this and why do you do this? Why do I disagree? Why do you disagree? So the thing about literature class is that when you have a discussion like that, once again, one, it builds your character, and second is that it allows you room to open for. It's basically a safe space for you to pretty much have any kind of opinions that you want to say, almost like you get away with everything that you say in literature class. I mean, putting aside all the curse words or whatever lah, we don't entertain that, but almost like you can say pretty much anything that you think about in literature class. So I think students nowadays are too scared to say what they want to say, are too scared to have opinions, and we've always had that kind of culture where there's a right and wrong answer to everything.
Correct.
Right? Yes, there's always a right and wrong answer scheme and whatnot. Literature kind of takes that away, takes that boundaries away. And I always tell them there's no wrong answer. There's a right answer, but there's no wrong answer. So I always try to have this kind of debates and whatnot, this kind of activities that allows them to talk more. That way they can develop their opinions more. And right now, if you observe my class during the first few weeks, when I ask them anything, it's always, oh, I don't know, ma'am. I don't know this. I don't know that. And it's always a one-liner kind of answer. But now, when I ask them, oh, this story makes me mad. This story makes me this, and this story makes me that. And I ask them why. Oh, because suddenly they're so much more emotional to reacting to the story. So my ways have always been about doing activities that allows them to speak their mind more. And the debate is one of the things that I did with them. So yeah, that's one of the things I incorporated into my class.
Yeah.
That's a good way for literature, because literature, you have a lot of people have a different opinions. Even the color blue, you can have a different
Yeah.
interpretation of what a blue is, right? Like it's sadness,
Exactly.
but some people it's
Yeah.
just color.
During the debate, I'm like Nikki, staying backstage and be like, fight, fight, fight. That's what I always do, and then they're always so entertained by that.
Yeah, but okay, so we're hearing from literature. What about language or grammar from Maya? What do you do to do
And
this?
I think it's interesting because not only that Balqis is teaching literature, she's also teaching second language learners. So which means that they have the basic of English. So they can converse in English, even though the grammar might be, like all over the place. It might be even, like rojak, but they can communicate in English. Me, on the other hand, I teach English as a foreign language. So basically, these people either are not exposed to the language, they don't have good command of the language. So some of them actually starts with zero. Like they only know yes, no, teacher, student, those kind of things. So it's
They
very
know bathroom.
they know toilet, yeah. Luckily, they don't come to me and say, "Teacher, wee wee," like okay. I mean, like common words, like toilet. Those are common words. They know that. But my point is that it's very different. I mean, like with Balqis, she has bigger options in terms of like doing discussions because they are exposed to the language. As for me, I teach international students, and they're not exposed to the language, where the language is just like very limited. So the things that I want to do as an educator, I want to do discussions. I want my students to talk and give opinions. But sadly, I can't, because my students can barely even talk, right? And so I think the thing that I do like about online learning is that everyone feels that they are in a safe space. Because you're not physically seeing this person. This person is not physically invading your space. So for a lot of students, especially like mine, they would have more confidence to speak. Because they feel
Yeah.
like, all right, like this is my space. I can try and speak.
Nobody's watching me. I don't turn on
Nobody's
my
watching
camera.
me. Exactly, yeah. And if they turn off the camera, nobody's watching me. They're just listening to me. And then I think I like that about online learning. I like the fact that they feel, and I think it's very important as teachers as well, that you give them that comfort. Like the first thing that I always say at every first day of my class is this: don't be afraid to speak in English. If you think your English is not good, your friend's English is also not good. That's why you are in the same class. That's what I always tell them, because a lot of students, they kind of feel intimidated with
Yeah.
other students. They feel like, oh, they can speak so well. And I always tell them as well, you know what? You hear me speak so well, but you don't know I have grammar mistakes as well. I always tell them that. And I think it's very important that you highlight how mistakes are common. So when I teach grammar, it's kind of difficult in terms of like what grammar point do I want to teach and how do I want to go about it. But as you become an educator, you realize, oh wait, I can break this down into scenarios. So I think teaching grammar in situations is much easier. So for example, you're going to teach past tense. So past tense is almost always related to storytelling. So you would teach them either how to tell a story or how to write a story, and then that's where you incorporate the grammar as well. But then again, in my institution, we actually try and encourage students to speak. We want them to speak, because a lot of times students, when they do like grammar tests or like multiple choice questions, they can do it so well. When it comes to application, they're just like
Uh,
nada. So we have been trying to get the students to apply what they've learned. So whenever it comes to grammar, well, I do everything. I do reading, listening, speaking, but grammar is mainly what it is. We try to make the students apply the grammar that they learn, not only in their writing but also in their speaking. But then again, grammar and drilling really don't go far apart. It kind of has to be drilled. No matter how much you try to incorporate it in like a conversation or anything like that, it has to be drilling. So but the drilling doesn't have to be in the same what do you call it, structure. You can drill in different structures as well, get them familiar with the language. But yeah, I think if you ask me like how do I get to teach like grammar per se, um, if to give an example, like last time we did storytelling and then we did past tense with storytelling. So with past tense, there are two types, like there's past simple and past continuous. So we have the presentation where we talk about what is past simple, what is past continuous, and then we have them write sentences. From sentences, develop stories, and then from stories, we edit. And I think it goes all in all like that. And I always remind my students that this is a language class, that whatever task that you are given is not testing your knowledge on general knowledge or your knowledge on storytelling. It's testing your knowledge on the language. Can you use what you have learned to complete this task? Can you use past tense to tell a story? So I always tell them this. So let's say today we learn present tense. Can you use present tense in this task? And I think it's always important to remind them that this is a language. we are learning the language. We're not learning, the topic of our reading today. We're not learning the topic of our writing today. We are learning the language. How do we use the language into whatever we're learning today?
It's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
Teacher Maya.
teacher Maya. Uh, for somebody who has an English background, I guess from my point of view, if I'm thinking about grammar or anything, I always think like fill in the blanks. Okay, past tense, fill in the blanks with the correct grammar for this. So having you shared on how you drill, as much as you said drill, the activity that you mentioned is actually very interesting. I I would love to be your student. To be in that class.
Oh!
I'm gonna enroll in the next batch.
Yeah, but I see like both of you are using engagement as a way to make your activities fun. This actually relates to Nur Hassan's question here. She asked how to develop attractive engagement online teaching. So both of you actually mentioned a little bit about this. How Balkis mentioned how she used debate to make sure that the engagement is going as much as even the first class is I don't know, but it, later on they became more talkative and more into this lesson. And how Maya mentioned like her classes, you start off you everybody didn't know anything, so don't worry about it, we'll learn as we go. So I guess part of it is uh, don't stress on yourself on our activities too much. We all as educator, we try to make it very fun and everything, but
Correct.
at the end of the day,
Yes.
everybody is just learning, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So
I can't say it better than that.
Yeah, and just to add on to the question there, develop attractive engagement online teaching. I think that is, I think all teachers would ask the same questions. Like how do I make this more
Yeah,
engaging? How do I make it
correct.
more interesting? But it all goes down to and a lot of people would say, oh, do I have to use this application? Do I have to use this application? Should I play games? And honestly, okay, this is like, okay, I am gonna go against everything. I actually hate playing games in my class. I honestly hate playing games. One of it is because I think I do teach more mature students, and playing games with more mature students is very difficult. So I've gotten my way around, like, how do I make lessons more interesting? And it's not by using games, it's not by using like really cool softwares or anything like that. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't work. I just say that you can do it without them. Like you're not forced to like play games. Things that engage students is knowing, what I've learned so far, learning, I mean, I don't teach that long, but so far what I've learned, like, is that students become engaged when they know why they're learning it, or how do I say it? Like you put a purpose to why you're learning this particular thing. So let's say
Explain
just now,
the
like
learning
literature.
objectives.
Correct. Learning objectives. And the learning objectives has to be very specific. If you're saying we're learning past tense today, why are we learning past tense? To tell a story. Then they understand, all right, past tense, tell a story. The next time they want to write a story, they'll remember, oh, wait, telling story, we use past tense. And then, like, setting these smaller objectives actually it makes them more engaged because they know why they're doing it. They're not just simply doing like filling in the blanks. Okay, yeah, I can do that. And then what next?
Yeah.
When you ask them to write, still it's wrong, teacher. Why? Why? And then so I think it's always putting the objectives clearly as to why. If you want to play games, by all means you can, but I would not solely put my class like this is my main focus. It's game
Correct.
time. Like I usually put games towards the end of the class, like 5-10 minutes before the class ends. Yes, let's do a quick game. But other than that, I think discussions, and also open-ended questions. If a student comes to me and say, "Teacher, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer," I would change my question, ask another question.
Yes.
So if you
Yes,
come up
ma'am.
and then the student say, "Teacher, I don't know," don't just dismiss that student. Try and like korek lagi, because it's not that he doesn't know. It's either he doesn't understand or he's
Yeah.
just lazy. So I always pound on the same student. The more you say I don't know, the more I'm coming at you. And then later not like coming at you like tell me now. No. I try to be as friendly as I can. So I would go, "You don't know that? Okay, let me change it a little bit. What if I asked you this question? Does that make it clear? What do you think?" So, it's always about they need to know that you want them to answer. They need to know that they need to give the answer. And that's how it starts. And then after that, once they're comfortable, hopefully, fingers crossed, some students
They'll get there.
Yeah. All right. So, Balqis.
Okay, I actually wanted to add to that. So thank you for handing that over to me. I in regards to asking them many different questions, I actually do that in my class as well because you're asking them for opinions, right? And it's not necessarily them giving us the right opinion, but I really just want to know what the heck is going on inside your head. Like, really, what are you thinking right now? Like, use your words. So I keep asking them different questions. Like, okay, what do you think? Okay, if that question is too difficult, then I make it more specific. What is this character doing, and how do you feel about it? Just to kind of gauge their reaction to it. Also, another thing that I kind of this is something that I think I do quite well in everything that I do. The thing about learners is that they have different styles, right? I think we can all agree. But between the three of us, I'm sure we have different learning styles in which maybe
Yep.
one of you learns better with visual stuff, and some of you learn with auditory stuff. So students learn differently. So I think one way that you can try to, if you're trying to come up with a teaching curriculum that engages with students, in terms of activities, perhaps you can just ask them, what do you guys like? Try to relate to them with the things that they're interested in, and use that in your class, because there are so many trends going on lately. I'm not saying go do TikTok stuff.
Oh my God. I wanted to talk about that. I honestly wanted to talk about that. Go on.
Okay,
You talk first.
yes, I'll talk. It's my mic. Okay, so I'm not I'm not saying do TikTok videos and things like that. God knows we are not at the age of doing TikTok videos anymore. I don't know about other people, but I'm definitely not down to make any TikTok videos. I'm sorry, guys. Like every time my students even ask me to pose a certain Gen Z pose, I'm like, no, guys, I love you, but no. So I just ask them, okay, what do you guys like? If they don't know what they like, give them several choices. Do you want to do, for example, do you want to do a debate, or do you want to do a discussion? Do you want to do role play, or do you want to do this? Do you want to do a puppet show, or do you want to do this? So anything that they can kind of like understand which one would be more fun. They get one thing is that they get the freedom to choose what they want to do. And of course, second is that it's up to you lah to tell them, okay, if we're doing this is what we're learning from this. If we're doing this particular activity, what are we getting out from this particular activity? There's always a certain outcome that they have to understand. The reason why we're doing this activity is for this and for this and for this. We're not just doing this for fun.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, I
Exactly.
want you to have fun. I want to be, of course, everybody wants to be that fun lecturer, that fun teacher, but we still have to
Exactly.
complete our, you're here to learn, guys. If I don't teach you anything, what's the purpose of you being
I
here?
agree. Yeah. I agree. And going back to that TikTok thing, I honestly don't mind at all. I understand like different educators, they have different approach to making their teaching more interesting. By all means, go crazy if you need to. But the TikTok thing kind of goes back to me, and I think like if I were to give this assignment, like how many of my students would actually be comfortable doing it? How many of my students actually knows how to use the application in such a way to produce what is needed?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how crucial is it for them to be able to do it? Like if I
Yeah.
were the student and my lecturer said, okay, I want you to post this TikTok video and this and this, it's like isn't that like a bit of invading my privacy? But this is just my personal opinion. Okay, I'm not like trying to
Yeah.
stomp
Like
on
you
people's.
teachers, you do you. This is I think this is we have to emphasize that this is what we think on
Yeah,
our
exactly.
practices. Yeah.
Because I feel like if I were a student, I would find it really difficult to go and do a TikTok video. Like,
Yeah.
okay, for
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
for fun,
Yeah.
for fun, I would rather do other things. Like that's
Yeah.
how I would say it. But again, if you get everyone's agreement on it, like everyone agrees to do it, why not?
Then yeah, by all means, go have fun but make sure to meet the outcome of the class, of course.
Exactly, what is the objective of the lesson? I think that
Mm.
what it goes back to. And so whenever we're trying to make it more attractive or more engaging, um, we cannot just solely think, oh, my students like it like this.
Mm-mm.
You cannot just think my students like it like this. You also have to think, okay, what are they learning from this? Because that's the whole point of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of you guys, those mm sharing are crucial for us to think about. But it goes to everybody differently. So everybody
Mm-mm.
have their own opinions and everything. I maybe I'm promoting this, but I don't care. Actually, this morning we actually have a workshop on designing engaging activities. So during this session this morning, my colleague shared about how um, making this is more on ice breaking activities. She was sharing on the first page on online learning, um, on how to create ice breaking activities. So what she shared was that to keep the barrier of entry low, so that everybody can have a go. So what I want to stress here is that how even if that course is a very like a professional course, you should start the barrier low. As much as it's a professional course, everybody have taken their prerequisites course or anything. We still have to think like not everybody are taking this at the same pace.
Correct.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that.
And I think it's
Uh,
also very important that when we make engaging or attractive lessons, not everyone is going to be attracted, not everyone's going to be engaged, and
Yes.
it's
That
okay.
is correct.
And it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, don't take too hard if your student is not responding to you or not participating. It's just, I mean, think about you when you were a student. Would you really respond to everything your teacher's telling you? Come on, guys. Let's be
Exactly. There are
honest.
days. There are days.
There
Yeah.
are days. There are days.
but I do want to share that one tip that our team at Open Learning usually use to keep the engagement going is that usually use your own ask the students to relate to their own experience. So when they relate to their own experience, they're more open to sharing about the activities. So
Yeah.
usually that's what we
Yeah.
do.
Just-
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we actually have another question by Nordin Saruji. Uh, is what are the key factors for making an online learning and cost effective?
Um, what are the key factors for making an online learning and cost effective? I think that goes back to what your learning objective is. Because I think you can pretty much come up with any kind of lessons. Because I think when you create any kind of course or when you create any kind of lesson plans, you always have a certain objective that you want to reach. Um, Always make sure that it's something that students are capable of. I mean, we all have expectations. I mean, Maya, I'm sure you want your students all to be able to speak English, and I would like my students all to be able to give opinions. But if it's something that's too high for them to achieve, then you will be setting yourself up for a trap. So you got to make sure that whatever you do, make sure that it's something that it's within the students' capabilities. And of course, that is up to you for you to know where are your students' level are at. If you feel like, if you, for example, if you want to test your lessons with your friends, for example, if your friends can do it, but still that doesn't mean that your students can do it. And even among students, if you test the smart kids, maybe the smart kids can do it, but the lower kids may not be able to perform well at it. So I think you need to come up with something that almost, if not all, then most of the students can achieve. Otherwise, again, like I said, you'll be trapping yourself if you're expecting everyone to respond.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Whether it's a single lesson or if it's a course that spans over 14 weeks, sorry, that setting the right objective will actually make it effective. It's knowing your audience. Who are
Mm.
your audience? What do they need? What are their abilities? Knowing that would definitely make it more effective, because we also have to, as educators, we are so excited to do like so many things. We want our students to do so many things, but then we always have to remember that whatever that we're doing or we're setting up, it's for the students and that they should be able to benefit from it. And so I think if you're saying key factors besides the objective themselves, is actually the educators. I know it sounds like weird, like what
Yeah,
course?
like putting
How
like
is
I
it
mean,
related to?
as much as that sounds like it's putting a lot of work on us, but we really are the key factor in a learning class
Exactly.
actually. Without us,
You
no
have
learning takes place.
you have to prepare your educators or yourself ready for the course. Like you should already know what kind of students you're gonna meet. Like, and if you're not briefed on that, then your first class, that's where you get to know your audience properly
Mm-mm.
and see how you can adjust the lessons to your audience. And because as much as, like you say, what about like activities for the courses? Now when it comes to activities for the courses, you have to decide, do you want it to be a teacher based or a student based kind of course? Is it a lecture based, or is it like a discussion, like collaborative learning situation? Knowing that will definitely help you out with setting activities. you know um yeah, objectives, educators, and what was the last one that I mentioned? Oh yeah, the type of class you want. Like the type of class
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
want. Do you want like students to just do their work and
Mm-mm,
not have a
mm-mm.
lot of discussions, or do you want like opportunities for the students to speak? Different institutions, different courses, different lessons, they require different um, type of
Approach.
communication.
Yeah.
So yeah, approach, exactly. So it's those things, I would say, for me.
At the end of the day, you know your students better than anybody else. As much as we try to give you a lot of suggestions, you know your students best. So I think you would be the best person to come up with lessons for your students. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that because whenever I create courses for open learning as well, the first thing I wanted to know is who are my students.
Who?
Yeah, who am I creating these courses to? Is it kids or adults? Anything?
Yeah.
So I would need to know that as well. But hmm, I lost my train of thoughts. But go on. uh, making course aligned attractive. Okay. So
It's okay, Atika.
um,
What do you think of this session today? Trying to turn this into a class.
yes. Sorry. So sorry. Just trying to get back my train. Another thing I want to highlight is that your course is not always. It doesn't have to be perfect. Uh, everybody have to remember that not all of the lessons, any of the lessons that are available are not perfect. because it doesn't get it you have a lot of students with different types of learners, different pace,
Yep.
and you have to figure this out as you go. So
Correct.
early on you start knowing a little bit about this, and then maybe like Maya mentioned, how if that student is like, I don't know, and then she changed the question. So that's how you have to create your activities or course. You changed it as you go, based on the feedbacks that you get from your students. So go remember that
Yes.
your course is not perfect from the get-go. Change it as you go.
Yeah. Talking
Yes.
about feedbacks, actually, I don't know about
Yes.
you. I don't know about you, but I actually appreciate feedbacks.
Me
I always tell my
too.
students, tell me if I'm doing a good job or not. Tell me if I'm
Yes.
doing the
I
right
say
thing or
that all the
not. You know,
time. I say that all
because
the
here's the thing.
time.
And I told them, like, you have to tell me earlier on. Don't wait until like at the end of the session and then you say, teacher, I actually didn't like you because it's like, I can't change anything now, can I? Now I'm gonna get a bad review because you refuse to tell me what's wrong with me. So I think
Exactly. Exactly.
I think a key factors for making a course effective is actually also getting feedbacks. You know, like always get feedbacks, knowing whether or not the things that you're doing is right or wrong. And as educators, as you know, like a management, you cannot be afraid of feedbacks. Feedbacks are
Yes.
good. Okay. Now, no matter how
Yes.
negative they are, you cannot just say, "Alah, budak ni memang macam ni." You can't.
You
You
can't
have to
say
protect
that.
yourself. You
Yes.
just
Oh,
kind of go
thank
like,
you.
okay, you know, like I might have done a boo
That's
boo here. Okay, so how do
mhm,
I improve
mhm.
from here? And then you have to be more careful with the things that you say, be careful with the things that you do, you plan better. You only get better when you know where you're wrong. You know, like when your student makes a mistake and then you go like, that's wrong, do it again. They do it again and then somehow they get better towards the end. And that's the main goal, you know? And I think that's the thing that we always have to put at the back of our head as educators, as people who are in this, you know, education system, institutions, whatever. Feedbacks are good no matter how bad they are. It means that we are progressing, you know, like in order to progress, you're gonna have to know where you need to improve yourself.
Yes. I
I
agree.
agree with you as well.
I agree. Like I nope, I can't improve that. That is bad. That's good.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, like, you know, because I get certain people who really don't like feedbacks, and I get it, you know, like
Yes.
because feedbacks can be nasty, you know, like
Yes.
It
especially
hurts.
for people. It hurts, it does, it really
Sakit di
does,
sini.
you know, like this teacher is so boring. Okay, but then that's good. So you know, if they
Yeah.
know that it's boring, then where do you make it more interesting? And then you can actually approach the students and then try different things and see what works. You know,
Yes.
I think it's important to also highlight that educators, my dear educators, do not push yourself too out of the zone to, you know, just impress other people. It'll drain you out. I always
Yeah.
try and incorporate things that are within my capabilities and see what works. Start with what you know first, see if it works or
Yes.
not. If it works, then good. You don't have to, you know, like really go out and try weird things.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, then slowly try and adapt new things. Maybe your teaching has, you know, it's not relevant anymore.
Mm-mm,
Slowly
mm-mm.
adapt. But for me to say jump from here to there, it's not fair.
No. Yeah.
You'll be
Yeah.
drained out.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta be comfortable with yourself, and you gotta like the way you teach first. Otherwise, your
Exactly.
students are not gonna be able to like you if you don't like the way you do
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. Hmm.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm just wary of the time, so I'm just gonna take one last question, which is from Nina. Do you have any tips or words of wisdom for both educators and students before we fully transition to face-to-face learning soon?
Mm.
Go
Words
on.
of wisdom.
You're the
I
wisdomy one.
I can't say I'm full of wisdom right now.
I think the words that we have throughout this session was already words of wisdom. I'm boasting.
I oh, oh
Go on, go on.
hashtag okay. Um, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's so many things that people, you can ask people for tips and for words of wisdom, but at the end of the day it still comes down on you, because again, like I said, you know your students better than anybody else, regardless of whatever mode of teaching it is, whether it's online learning or is it physical class. You're the one who knows your students better. If you're just getting to know them, then dude, it's okay, get take the time to get to know your students, because it will all be worth it at the end. um I guess because of the current situation, I think what we can try to tell ourselves to remember is that we're all transitioning, we're all taking time to adapt to the change. We're bound, it's we're all gonna face any kind of obstacles or struggles as we fully transition. I think it's just important to remember that and to be patient, so that we don't overwhelm ourselves with whatever that is going on at that point, because if that happens, and that's when everything turns into a chaos, and if you're a chaos and your students are going to be a chaotic students, and you're going to struggle. So I think that for me, that's what we have to remember.
Yeah, and to add to that, I just think like I think, like the word empathy is not being used enough in today's world. Like the word empathy is like being empathetic, not just to other people, but also to yourself. Like
Mm-mm.
feel sorry for yourself, understand your situation. There's only so much that you can do as an educator, and there's only so much that they can do as students. I feel like,
Yes.
as students, and I think going back, I think it's just slowly opening again. I know everyone is kind of like rushing through the syllabus, and it's important that you finish the syllabus. But then again, how do we rush through it? You have to be smart about rushing through it. Yes, you have to finish the syllabus. Then maybe you can pick, or like really curate your lessons to make sure that not only you cover everything, but it doesn't stress you or the students as well. Yeah, just have a lot more feelings towards yourself and towards the other people that you're teaching. I think is really important. Patience is key, definitely. Everyone is going through a lot of things these days, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right. I hope you guys have taken those words of wisdom. As, but I guess since we already past 4 o'clock, I guess we can slowly
Start saying our
transition.
goodbyes.
Yes,
This is
Hashtag
correct.
sad.
goodbye.
But
So
thank you
sad.
both. Thank you both for sharing your experiences. It was really good to know your perspectives as educators during this pandemic, which soon will be endemic. But
Hopefully.
yeah, I guess as much as we're going back into the norm as usual before we start uh, our MCOs and everything, I guess there's a lot for us to take from this. A lot of that we can learn from this. Which one thing is that feedbacks. Feedbacks
Mm,
are good, but also
yes.
we as educators, our main point is the students. We teach for
We
the
are nobody
students.
without our students.
Yes. So uh, I guess as much as I want to say the last word, I want to ask any of you, both of you, if you have any last words that you want to share with anybody, the viewers.
I feel like
Um,
my last words are not gonna be last words.
I'll give my last words then. I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. I think as teachers, there's only so much you can do. You teach, you go to class, you teach. The rest is up to the students. If they have trouble, they come to you and they ask for you a help. Then yes, you help them out. But if they have trouble, you tried reaching out to them, they refuse to even respond. Then honestly, just keep doing your job, because there are other people who wants your attention. Just because one person or two people don't want your attention doesn't mean that you're a failure as a teacher. Move on. You'll be teaching other students who will appreciate you so much more. Not everyone is going to see your worth, and that's fine. The ones who do, they know your value, appreciate them, move on. We're humans, there's only so much we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that same tone, as teachers, I think we're pretty much people who are stuck in the middle. We have students who need us, and we also have our bosses who give us, you know, instructions and tasks and whatnot. So we're pretty much stuck in the middle. We're supposed to please everybody to the point that we forget that we need ourselves as well. So do as much that you can, but don't tire yourself up to the point that you start to hate your job and you start blaming other people. Because truth is, like Maya said, for those who want your attention, they will appreciate it and they will come back to you and need you in ways that they need you. And for those who don't, then there's only so much that you can do. So empathy, like Maya said, patience is key. There's empathy, and then I think there's also understanding. You gotta be understanding of not just other people, but to yourself as well. Don't try to push yourself more than you can.
Thank you both for that. I guess I'm going to start ending the session. But before I do, I want to ask for those who are still watching. As mentioned, feedback. We do have a feedback form. We do have a feedback form. Let
We
us
like
know.
feedback.
Let us
You
know.
like feedback, give it to us.
Let us
If
know
you
what.
want us in the next session, please tell us.
Yes. Thank you, Balqis. What do you want to know for the next session? Let us know in the feedback form. How was this session? Is this okay? What's your preferred date and time for the next one, which will be happening the next 2 weeks? So let us know what you want to see for that next section. All right. So without further ado, I guess thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope to see you guys again in the next session. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.